Hello, dear friends, and thank you again for joining us tonight for this ceremony. I don't know about you, but the last week or so has been pretty intense energetically, and my sleep has been disturbed. I've been dizzy and kind of losing my balance, and I'm sure it's astrological because there's just a lot of intense energies coming along, and I'm sorry to say it's not going to end anytime soon. So it's a good time to be in the month of Libra when we're focusing on balance. So, so tomorrow at around 8 o'clock in the morning, the sun and the moon will be exactly opposite each other in the sky. And the sun is in the sign of Libra, as we know, and the moon is in the sign of Aries, its opposite. So, as I mentioned, this month we're asked to bring into our lives a sense of balance in every area of our life, not just our primary relationships, but to the earth and to the environment. It's just a good time to focus on staying centered and grounded, but in balance. And along with the energies of Libra, we also have celebrated the fall equinox, which occurred a few weeks ago. And that reminds us that we're entering a new cycle in nature, a new beginning, and we anticipate, some with trepidation, some not, the beginning of winter and the coming of darkness. So we're going to honor these two events, and let us begin by lighting 2 candles. A balance of night and day, a balance of light and dark. Tonight we seek balance in our lives as it is found in the universe. So we'll light the first candle. We did this for the equinox ceremony, but I think it's important that we honor it again tonight. Get this going the right way. This first candle is a candle for darkness and pain and the things that we can eliminate from our lives. So think about that for a minute. What are you ready to eliminate from your life? The second candle is a candle for the light and for joy and all the abundance that you wish to bring into your lives in this next season. So think about how that would feel in your body to bring in lightness and joy and abundance. At this time of the full moon, there's harmony and balance in the universe, and so shall there be in our lives. And now let's begin by invoking the protection formula. We touch our foreheads and silently say, "As a soul, I work in light." We touch our chest and say, "And darkness cannot touch me." Left eye, I take my stand within the light. Right eye, I work, and from that point, I never move. And so if you notice when we do this, we're making the sign of the cross of divinity. And so let us close our eyes a moment and just visualize a lighted cross right in front of you, protecting you. and see this cross in front of everyone in our group tonight. So encircling our group is the protective light of the Christ. And now, keeping your eyes closed, let's begin with our alignment. So putting your attention on your heart, place your hand over your heart and feel the quality of Christ-like love filling your heart and radiating out to every member of our group. So now we have the protective light and love of the Christ energy surrounding us and touching each of us. So let's imagine we're joined heart to heart, soul to soul, and repeat silently, I am one with my brothers and sisters, and all that I have is theirs. May the love which is in my soul pour forth to them. May the strength which is in me lift and aid them. May the thoughts which my soul creates reach and encourage them. Before we get into the particulars of Libra and Aries, I'd like to take a few moments to speak to the specific energies of this full moon period. There's so much going on right now in the sky, and some of this might be a little too technical for those of you who aren't interested in astrology per se, but I think it's important to at least acknowledge what's going on and describe to you what the impact of that might be. So if it gets too technical for you, just kind of tune out and focus on what it means to you. And that's the important thing anyway. So please bear with me. We're going to spend a little extra time on these energies tonight. So in astrology, when we say that a planet is retrograde, it means that it appears to be moving backward in the heavens. And because of that backward movement, it symbolizes us looking back into our own lives. So we remember to use the words RE, remember, revisit, reassess, renegotiate, and revise if necessary. So recently, we've had 4 planets that have been retrograde. So this last month, you may have found yourself examining some past events or reassessing your position on something. But now the movement has stopped, and we say that those planets have now stationed direct. So they're standing still. These 4 planets are now standing still for a time until they move forward again. So when this happens, when they change direction from seemingly moving backward to standing still, there results a change in pace. Things are more intense. They're more likely to be focused on the energies that are happening at the moment. So things accelerate, and they do become more intense. And the second half of October, this is what's happening. So the pace is going to pick up even more powerfully and faster. So these 4 planets are big shooters in the galaxy, you might say. They're not minor planets. They're big energy. Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, and Mercury. Mercury finally finished its retrograde cycle yesterday, thank goodness. So most of us are familiar with Mercury retrograde, when things seem to be going wrong and you're not supposed to sign anything important and that kind of thing. So that's stopped for now. But what did this mean energetically for all these 4 planets to be standing still? Well, we'll start with Pluto. Pluto is called the Lord of the Underworld, and it's in the sign of Libra. And it turned direct, stationary, on the day of the new moon, October 6th. And this energy has a lot to do with power and control, and also transformation. So you might look back and think about whether there were power struggles going on in your own life. Certainly there were power struggles in our country, and control issues and control struggles. But there's also possibilities for transformation. So we can see these energies working out in the national scale, if not even in our own lives. Then, on October 10th, Saturn in Aquarius went direct. And Saturn usually implies some kind of a contraction or a constriction. So Saturn asks us to do a reality check, especially around things like rules and regulations. So what's working? What isn't working? On October 17th, last Sunday, the planet Jupiter went direct in the sign of Aquarius. Jupiter has to do with expansion, and Aquarius holds a vision. So you might want to be aware of anywhere in your life that requires you to look at the larger picture and to think about, what is your vision of the future or for your life? What would expansion in that area look like to you? And finally, Mercury, as I said, finishes its retrograde cycle. So with that ending, there should come a time of more clarity, things working more smoothly, contracts being fulfilled without any obstructions, and that kind of thing. But in addition to that, Mars is sitting right next to the Sun. And Mars is the god of war. So all of this martial energy is intensifying. We already have our moon in Aries, which is a very energetic, aggressive, assertive energy, and Mars is the ruler of Aries, and Mars is the god of war, as I said. So I don't know what this portends, but it means definitely that that warrior energy is really powerful right now. All right. The Sun and Mars are sitting right next to each other in the sky, and they oppose the moon sitting right next to Eris. So you can visualize it this way. The Sun is here and Mars is here, and down at the bottom is the moon sitting right next to Eris. And Eris is the feminine archetype of discord and chaos. So here all of this discordant energy is opposing one another, and then over here, making a right angle to all of these energies, it's called a square, is Pluto, the planet of power and transformation. So you have all that warrior energy getting strength from the Sun, and then you have discord and chaos, opposite power and transformation. So it's a good time to remember that just because these aspects are not in a harmonious relationship, that it doesn't mean that it's all negative. You know, the energies themselves depend upon how we use them to determine whether they will be put to a good use, a useful use, or whether they will be a detriment. So remember that it's never all a negative thing, even though the tendency is definitely there. And something big is about to go down, from what I've been reading from all the other astrologers that I keep in touch with. Each planet and each sign holds the possibility of transformation, and that's true about every challenge that we face, right? Every time a challenge comes up for us, we have the choice how we want to deal with it. Do we want to use it as a tool for our own transformation, or do we want to succumb to the tendencies that are there that might be negative? One astrologer, David Nickel, says this about these transits. This full moon in Aries offers, I believe, a crucial initiatory passage into courage. Humanity is being challenged for real to step into the courage it will take to choose a path aligned with love rather than fear. Each of us is being challenged to step into that courage more fully on a personal level. Courage is the price of entrance to spiritual adulthood. I really like that sentence. Courage is the price of entrance to spiritual adulthood. It can only be realized through facing our deepest fears. End quote. So that's our work for this powerful month. So now let's talk about the astrology in general. In astrology, there are 12 archetypal cycles of development that correspond to the 12 signs, and Libra is the sign that's halfway in between these cycles. The first 6 signs, Aries, Taurus, Gemini, Leo, and Virgo, all have to do with our own personal foundation. The second 6 signs, Libra, Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, and Virgo, all have to do with how we interact in the world. And it's interesting to check this out in your own chart, if you have your chart, to notice how many planets are on the top of the chart and how many planets are below the chart and how many signs are below and above. And that will give you some indication of the energy. And so the upper half of the wheel has to do with our interaction with the world, and the lower half has to do with our foundation, what gives us our base. So the cycles of development look like this, according to Stephanie Austin, the astrologer. Aries focuses on developing courage. It takes courage to be the initiator and to forcefully put your ideas out into the world. The next sign, Taurus, cultivates values. Gemini attains open-mindedness. Cancer masters self-nourishment. And Leo discovers authenticity. Virgo acquires discernment. So to see how they kind of all blend into one another or evolve. So Libra sits right in the middle of these 12 signs, and it's considered a major turning point in the journey around the zodiac. Where the first 6 signs have to do with the individual, in Libra the focus shifts to the collective. And Libra is all about equality, balance, equanimity, and reciprocity. It's about our relationship with everything and everyone. And if we haven't learned the lessons of the first 6 signs, we bring all of that unfinished business into our relationships. So it would be a good study for you to think about how you've integrated those first few signs in your own life. One of the symbols for Libra is the scales of justice. And in ancient Egypt, it was believed that the heart of those who had died should be weighed against a feather, both placed on the scales. The feather represented the truth, and if the scales lost their equilibrium and tipped one way or the other, it was believed that the soul would then have to reincarnate. In the Christian tradition, Libra was representative of the Archangel Michael, who wielded the sword of truth. In the Upanishads, Libra was described as the razor's edge path, and in Buddhism, as the noble middle way. So the highest expression of Libra has to do with reconciling all of these opposites. Again, I'd like to quote Stephanie Austin. Quote, "This reconciliation occurs in the heart, not in the mind. When our hearts are open, we realize our connection and equality with all life. When our hearts are closed, we are imprisoned in the illusion of duality and separation." End quote. Libra is an air sign, so there is a strong emphasis on the mind. The Libra mind is used to observe the social dynamic in any situation, and that is so that they can know what the rules are, because then they can understand what is needed to bring balance and equilibrium to that situation. They are always processing and adjusting internally so that they can create a balance between what others need and what they need to maintain their own personal authority. Libra's opposite sign, Aries, is quite different. Aries always drives to initiate and to jump into action before understanding the social dynamic. Again, the first signs, 6 signs of the zodiac, focus on being grounded in one's own identity. When Libra's shadow is present, and by shadow we mean those unredeemed parts of our personality. So with Libra, when the shadow is present, he over-identifies with others, rather than holding on to his own integrity. He can be people-pleasing, giving away his power, being a follower instead of a leader. But his highest spiritual calling, so the evolved Libra, is to notice always the bigger picture in any circumstance, and then see how he can use his own strong individuality to come to a place of balance within the group. He must consider how he can maintain his individuality and still support the highest good of the group, which is no easy task, to hold on to ourselves while still being aware of the outer group. And because Libra is at the midpoint of the zodiac, it's often described as a resting place, a pause. The danger here is that the Librans may hang out in that pause and not move forward. They may have trouble committing. They may not be able to take a stand or make up their own minds. It may feel lovely and peaceful, but it can then be hard to make the choices that result in taking some action. So to quote my favorite astrologer, Heidi Robbins, who says this about the Libran pause: "Make decisions, jump off the fence, grab someone's hand, head down a noble path, show up fully. Offer up your radical, full, authentic self, again and again and again." Equilibrium does not mean a static place. It's about finding your balance, the middle way, making a decision, and then moving forward. I often think about this sign as, in equilibrium, as someone walking a tightrope. You know, if you watch a tightrope walker, they stand in one spot until they have their equilibrium, until they're poised and balanced. And from that place, they move forward to the next step, to retain balance again. So that's equilibrium. It's finding the balance, but not staying there, moving forward and taking action after you've received that balance. Esoterically, Libra is called the sign of decision because we can see the vision of the spiritual path, but we must choose whether we commit to it or not. If the Libran is willing to choose with clarity and commitment the noble middle path, there will be tremendous support as he or she walks the way. All manner of people and events will conspire to support the choice. And don't you find this true in your own lives when you're trying to make a decision and clarity isn't there? And all of a sudden you wait for the clarity, and then the focus comes, and then you're able to take that first step. It's like showing the universe that you're serious and committed, and then everything begins to happen. Libra's opposite sign, Aries, has no trouble making decisions or choices or moving forward. So when Libra gets stuck, he can call on the energy of Aries to stimulate him to action He can choose the middle way between the two polarities. The mantra for Libra is, I choose the way that leads between the two great lines of force. And the two great lines of force is that duality, the opposites. So the whole idea here is to not get stuck at one end of the polarity or the other. Don't live fully in Libra and don't live fully in Aries. Bring them together so they can support one another to manifest the highest that's within each of them. And we can use this discerning mind of Libra to help us do this. For example, in our world today, we see so much division. Politically, we have the right and the left. But what if we just recognize the larger picture here, which is that we're all part of the human family? We're family. Or the division of love versus hate. What if that could be changed to intelligent understanding? What if we could use the intelligence of Libra and the understanding of the intelligence of Aries and the understanding of Libra? Intelligent understanding. This is the blending, the middle way. Both Aries and Libra are cardinal signs, which means that they both have a lot of energy, but they use it in much different ways. Aries will use his energy to initiate and pioneer new ideas, but it's a solitary energy. Aries is just one in himself. Libra uses this dynamic energy to create equality and right relationship, and it's cooperative in nature. The shadow side of Aries is partly about fierce independence, me, mine, not much awareness of others, and the impact he has on others. It's like shoot first and ask questions later. The shadow side of Libra is at the other end of the spectrum. Libra is all about relationship, harmony at all costs, even sacrificing the self. So Aries must learn to become more inclusive, while Libra needs to learn to take a stand and find its center and say, here I stand, this is me, separate from you. Aries asks, who am I? And Libra asks, who are we? So the task is to blend these two powerful energies in a healthy way. Can we raise our consciousness high enough to dispense with the me and mine mentality, the us versus them? Can we merge these energies into a synthesis that recognizes our interdependence and acknowledges how we are all connected? That what we do and think affects everything. It's the balance between strength and cooperation. How do we use our power? This is an important question to sit with this month. The more aware we are of these questions, the better we can use this energy for the highest good. The soul-centered ruler of Libra is Uranus. And Uranus demands freedom and authenticity. It asks us to bring our whole self and our soul selves to the relationships in our lives. It asks us to show up with the truth, not just pleasantries. It asks that those relationships that have been inequitable become fairer and more balanced. You might call it radical relating. It's truth-telling and engaged self-expression, innovative collaboration. How many of our relationships reflect these qualities? Tonight, for our meditation, I will ask you to ponder and contemplate some questions that are relevant to these full moon energies of Libra and Aries. So let us prepare now. Make sure you're seated comfortably, where you will not be disturbed. Gently closing your eyes. And as much as possible, sit with your spine erect, but with no undue tension or strain. Put your attention on the breath cycle, gently and rhythmically breathing in and out. Now on the in-breath, breathe in the color green and silently exhale the word calm. And do this for a few breaths. And now breathe in the color white and exhale peace. Breathe in the color rose pink and breathe in and exhale love. Feel the sense of alignment and centeredness that occurs when you focus on calm, peace, and love. Now I'm going to ask you to contemplate a few questions, and I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to ponder them. So thinking about the energies of Libra and the focus on equality, freedom, and authenticity, I'd like you to take these minutes to examine your close relationships and contemplate how many of these relationships reflect this kind of balance. Are they reciprocal? Do you receive as much as you give? Are you being your true, authentic self in them? So we'll contemplate these for 5 minutes. Now, if you've discovered through your ponderings that some of your relationships are out of balance, can you access your courage, your power, and your strength, standing incorruptibly in your own center? Can you use this courage to ask for what you need to bring balance to those relationships? Can you see yourself doing that? And finally, let's consider our relationship to the larger picture, to the earth, to our environment, to the unseen worlds. Are you willing to engage in a co-creative relationship with those aspects of your life? So you're not just receiving from the earth or receiving guidance and help from the subtle worlds, but are you willing to do your share to give back, to take some action so that you are helping to create more balance in our world? And what action can you take? So bring yourselves gently back now, feeling grounded and aligned. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So I'd like to close with the mantra of unification, because I think these words will help us create right relationship with all of humanity. The souls of humanity are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve and not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love which underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let people everywhere love. And I'd like you to spend just a minute more listening to my closing song. Namaste, friends. Thank you for joining me.